And then
Well,
this is
yeah.
the big one, I think, here. I liked this question. Good job with this. The Trump administration is currently in the midst of a trade war with China, with each side imposing tariffs on the other. Who do you hope wins the tariff war? 18% say China, 57% say Trump administration, probably lower than you would want to see, right?
Yeah.
But 32% of Democrats want China to win, and only 30% want Trump to win. That's stunning.
Trump derangement syndrome is a very powerful thing, Mark. I mean, to root against your own country because you don't want Trump to have a win. I'm actually not that surprised. Come on, no, you can't even be that surprised by that. When you saw that result, Mark, you must have said, "Yep, that's right. I can believe that,"
Yeah.
because of the way the Democratic Party conducted itself before the election. That this goes all the way back to remember Joe Biden when he was still bad, when he was bad, his brain was starting to turn into oatmeal, but he was able to do a pretty decent performance once in a while. Remember that red speech he gave with the
Oh, yeah.
Independence
Oh,
Hall
they love
bathed
that.
in red and the two Marines standing behind him? Good grief. And
Dark
he
Brandon,
called,
yeah.
the dark Brandon one. There you go. And how he called half this country at least semi-fascist, and how they want to take away our democracy, destroy our entire society. And so that was 2 years before this election in 2024 that he gave that speech. I believe it was 2022. And again, propaganda works. And so when you have that kind of rhetoric going on, and despite 2 assassination attempts, they still didn't stop characterizing Trump as a grave threat to our very democracy, or as Joe Biden used to say, the very soul of our nation. So why would you root for a Trump-led America to win in a trade war against
Yeah.
China? Of course you would pick China. Makes perfect sense. I'm actually surprised it
I
isn't,
know.
even more than 32%. I mean, that was the winner among Democrats, is China, not America, in a trade war. Awesome.
And more among Trump's strong disapprovers, so it's definitely a TDS signal. But I thought you'd find this funny, is that open socialists actually are more likely to say they want Trump to win than Democrats are.
That's amazing. Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Socialists are more patriotic than than an attendee at the DNC.
Yeah, that's
Good
right.
grief.
Um, and it's atheists too. Atheists. Those are the standouts. It's absolutely stunning. Uh, well, yeah, you're right. It's not a surprise to me. I don't know if you know about this question we've been asking, but we've been asking it for a long time, and that is, who is the biggest enemy that the U.S. currently faces? And we give people a choice between Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, the Democrat Party, or the Republican Party. And everybody used to say China, but it was like, 25, 30%. And then they would say the Democrat Party, then the Republican Party, and then Russia.
Hmm.
And now, for the very first time, starting this fall, the Democrat Party became the number one enemy facing America. And then China, then the Republican Party. But among Democrats, the Republican Party is the biggest enemy, followed by domestic extremists, then Russia. It's wild.
Wow.
So yeah, brainwashing works. That's the takeaway, everybody. Incredible. But this is nice though. 57% say Trump administration, when only 47% approved of Trump. So there are still some patriotic and open-minded Democrats and independents.
Some.
Not
Just
enough.
enough.
This is the Elon Musk poll, and this, I think, illustrates the height of the Trump derangement. It's a Trump derangement by proxy, is I think what it is.
Yep.
So he polled way worse than Trump in the same poll, 42% instead of 47%. Same amount of very unfavorables, but he's underwater 10 points. That's not horrifying. That's better than many politicians. Like, that's way better than Romney, McConnell, Mike Pence after selling out Trump. And so that's like kind of the wild theme, is that it's not like broad-based Elon dislike, but it's literally just Democrats.
Okay.
Because independents, like, well, there's some left independents here that don't like him either. Elon Musk helped create the Department of Government Efficiency. Some claim that DOGE has engaged in unconstitutional activities. Others support DOGE's effort to reduce government spending. Do you want to ban Elon Musk from serving in government? 48% yes, 38% no. Sad.
That's sad. I mean, again, propaganda works. I mean, the idea that every cut in government, like, well, we saw the messaging that the Democrats have held on to. Chuck Schumer, I think, just said it the other day when he was finally asked about when did you're telling me you never noticed that Joe Biden was losing his marbles, and he says we're moving on. And before that, he started with the messaging about how we got to save Medicaid, Medicare from Elon Musk. It's like, you know, there's been, if your eyes and ears are open, it's been nothing. This is the most transparent administration we have ever seen.
Yeah.
And if you have your eyes and your ears open, you can hear for yourself almost daily Elon Musk and the other employees of DOGE explaining that they are not just taking Medicaid and Medicare money away from people who need it. They're taking it away from, they're getting rid of the scams. There's obviously a lot of scamming going on here. But that message isn't getting across because the Democratic Party and their mouthpieces in the legacy media ensure that message is suppressed. So that then you end up with him. Yeah, we should ban him from government, which is not the worst result in this poll. There's something worse than that in this poll, but they just want to have
Yeah.
him not be able to work in government.
Well, right. But this is like a fundamental civil issue here. And it's kind of sad to see that 29% of Republicans say yes, only 59% say no. And in my opinion, you're exactly right. Propaganda works. That's what we've been talking about. And in my opinion, the Trump administration, if they want to be successful, probably needs to do more of it. Because there's a massive, sustained, broad spectrum information war going on. And I
Yep.
feel like Twitter is winning its own information war. And that is every day's a new psyop, and Twitter undermines it. But the problem is that what's actually happening isn't reaching Joe Normie. It's just not. And so I don't
True.
think the normies really know the extent to which they've really uncovered major, like just generational wealth being stolen from the taxpayer. Like that has to get out somehow, and it's not being socialized at all.
True.
Like not even to Republicans.
That is a problem for sure. That is a major problem.
My idea was that they should, as part of the CBS settlement, get 60 Minutes as time slot and then run the Doge Prentice.
Ah, that's a great idea. Very creative. See, you only get those on streams like this. That's pretty fun.
All right, so here's the one that you guys did the headline. Would you support a hypothetical law that would imprison Elon Musk for his role in Doge? And it's a pretty clear majority, 54 to 37, 36. That's bad. But it's 71% of Democrats.
It's amazing. And when we saw this polling, and we talked about it on our own podcast, In the Tank, that we do on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, shameless plug. 3 years ago, Elon Musk was an American hero to people on the right and the left. Now, I mean, I had my problems with Elon Musk. You know, he built Tesla, in part at least on subsidies from the federal government for the purchase of electric vehicles. He was trading, carbon credits because his vehicles were emissions free, while others were so-called polluting the environment. I feel like Chris Farley here with my air quotes. I'm not a big admirer of that, but Elon Musk in the modern world is, maybe you could call him, this might be overstating it a bit, but the personification of patriotism, because he risked everything to support Donald Trump. And I think it's actually hilarious how this all started. Babylon Bee was banned from Twitter for calling Rachel Levine the man of the year. that Rachel Levine, if you forget, was the second in charge at Health and Human Services, who was an admiral, but a transgender woman who used to be known as Richard Levine. And the Babylon Bee called her the man of the year. That got Babylon Bee's account canceled, got it banned from Twitter. And the comedian Dave Smith, Elon Musk was mad about that. And then the comic Dave Smith tweeted at Elon Musk, says, maybe you should buy Twitter. And Elon said, how much? And before you know it, 6 months later, and 46 months or 7 months, and $43 billion later, Twitter is in the hands of a private individual, Elon Musk, instead of a publicly traded corporation that was coordinating with the Biden administration to censor your speech. There is no doubt in my mind that this stream, which is going out on Twitter as well as YouTube, would not be going out on Twitter at all if Elon Musk had not bought Twitter.
Yeah.
And we also should realize that if Donald Trump had lost the 2024 election, Elon Musk would probably be in jail, and his empire, his empire in that would be admirable in any other context, in ruins. Donald Trump would be in jail. Donald Trump Jr. would probably be in jail. The entire Trump corporation would have been taken down. There was a lot at risk to Elon Musk personally and professionally going into November 6th, I guess it was, 2024. He put it all on the line, and then he volunteered his time while still mastering rocketry and space travel to put it all on the line, and then volunteer his time in government to do what only he could do, which was use his brilliant technological mind and AI and the great, very talented people he had attracted around him in the private sector to do a patriotic thing, and that was to fix a completely dysfunctional and broke, at least attempt to fix a completely broken and dysfunctional federal government, starting with finding the obvious waste, fraud, and abuse that has built up over literally decades, that is stealing your money, stealing my money, and doing a very crappy job at what it's supposed to be doing, which is serving the American people. And the thanks he gets for this is that 71% of Democrats want to throw him in jail for nothing. He hasn't done anything, obviously. He hasn't committed any crimes. But as I hinted back, some of our earlier polls we've done that Hartley Institute has done with Rasmussen.
He stole the election with Starlink. Didn't you hear that?
Oh, he did. Did he? Oh, okay. Well, we have to do some more election integrity polling again to get to the bottom of that, Mark Mitchell. But yeah, so for his trouble, 71% of Democrats want to throw him in jail for committing no crimes whatsoever. And so what that really exposes is how really broken and divided this country is. As I've been kind of the theme with you today, is that propaganda works. Because the left still controls all the levers of propaganda, the ones that matter, that still matter. They won't matter this much forever, but they still matter quite a lot. That, as you said, Joe Normie believes a lot of BS and doesn't really have any exposure or very little exposure to the real truth.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% believe that Twitter is the front lines of the info war, and it enabled Trump's win. And all of this isn't in the rearview mirror, because the second power pendulum swings back. It's all on the table again. And in my opinion, this time they will not allow. I mean, there will be court packing, there will be laws broken, there will be more persecution of political opponents. Twitter might as well kiss itself goodbye. They aren't happy with the situation they've put themselves in. I don't think Republicans are very happy either, to be honest with you. It almost feels like I was astounded with the direction that DOGE was going in the first 4 weeks. And then I'll tell you, around the time that the CR deal happened, it felt like the goalposts got shifted. And I think it's a Republican thing. And, I've gotten into it. I don't know if we need to get into it, but I also, Elon's numbers weren't that bad either coming in. He was only a point behind Trump from net approval back in January, February. And so, like, this Tesla stuff, and I think Elon breaking a little bit with some of the Trump stuff on the tariffs, like, all had an effect. It's all been in the last couple of months. But yeah, there was an info war, and Elon was the key figure, and that's like American hero stuff.
Yeah, I'm at 100%. I mean, Elon Musk was probably, I'm sure he was on the cover of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. You know what? Ask Grok. Somebody ask Grok, was Elon Musk ever Times Man of the Year? If he wasn't, he should have been, because he is, he's like the modern day, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and Ben Franklin and, Henry Ford, all wrapped into one. He is literally one of the most remarkable Americans of the 21st century. His accomplishments will be very hard to match by any one individual person for the rest of this century. That, to me, and for most of American history, is a very admirable thing. And yet he's been demonized. And again, this is why I thank him, and I think he's a great American patriot, because after he after he avoided prison because Donald Trump won, he could have slinked back off, concentrated on SpaceX, and pretty much kept his head down. And instead, he kept his head above the parapet to try to do what he thought was the right thing. And I think most reasonable people would think is the right thing for his country. And I will always admire him for that. Although I wasn't always a great admirer of him, it's hard not to think about that and to keep it in your heart whenever you're thinking about Elon Musk, at least for me.
Yeah. Not only head above the parapet, he was like a missile sponge. Like he was soaking up he was like Trump's tank out in the front, taking damage for the team.
Yeah.
And it worked too, because like again, Trump. I don't think they can really attack Trump at this point. They've done everything they can, and it's not going to work. But that's like dangerous. Like that's the problem. You talked about how divided we are, and that's something that we've been tracking. We've been tracking risk of civil war. We've been tracking feelings about whether there was going to be political violence after the election, and a majority of people thought there was going to be a violent reaction, regardless of who won.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is that civil war risk has eased off a few points. We're back under 40%. That's not bad. But again, there's so many existential, like basically, I don't like not decisions, but like branch points over the next year or two. They're really going to decide how this stuff goes, because there's just so much power and so much money, so many people that stand to lose control or face accountability. I just don't see how they're going to let this play out.
I dream to live in a society and in a country where elections don't matter this much. And frankly, that's really that's kind of the American ideal, is that elections matter, but they're not existential, and they shouldn't be considered existential. But look, over the centuries, since the Progressive Project really started getting going in the American government from Woodrow Wilson on, as the government gets more powerful, your elections get more important because of the power that the government has collected for itself. People shouldn't think about elections in this way, that they're existential, but we do live in that time. And another reason to admire Elon Musk is that he and Donald Trump is that they are trying to reduce the scope and power of government for the first time in the lifetime of anybody listening to this or watching this stream. Ronald Reagan tried to do it. We talked about trying to do it, but it was impossible. Donald Trump is attempting the impossible, not just politically impossible, but practically impossible, because not only is he taking political risk, although he doesn't care anymore because he's not going to run again. And, he's learned a lot from his first term. So now he's going full bore. But, you have the courts stepping up to stop it at every turn. And actually, all they want to do is delay it. They figure if they can get to the midterms and the Democrats win, all of those delays will have done their job, and the status quo power structure of the Democratic Party and the bureaucracy and the corporations all in one. You might even call it fascism, when corporations and the government are combining their power over society. If they can just get to the midterms and get a Democratic victory in one house, they figure they would have averted disaster. And that's what every single thing you're seeing happening in our politics today is all about. And to see the Republican Party continually dragging their feet while they're in charge of the House of Representatives to get this agenda passed, to get things moving before then is frustrating.
If you've learned something, please follow us at rasmussenreports.com, Rasmussen_poll at Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Mark_R_Mitchell at Twitter. And thanks for watching.